Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
This week's big question is, what is the worst party you've ever been to and why? What's it, the worst party you've ever been to? My answer is a wedding party that the low budgets were asked to play, but we were actually asked, I believe, to play during the ceremony, and we learned the wedding march, and we showed up no less than 3 hours late, maybe 4 hours late. We not only did we not know anybody there, but we didn't even know the bride and groom. And anybody who recognized who we were, because we weren't in fancy clothes, like looked at us with disgust, which we probably deserved, I guess.
Well, how did we get invited?
You tell me. You're gonna have to fill in some of these blanks, Joe. I drank a lot back then, and I don't remember what happened.
Oh, I remember. Was it in Maryland? Not that
That was Virginia.
Virginia, close enough. Yeah,
same state. Yeah.
So I think that we did.
North Virginia.
Wasn't Chris's wife or fiance related to the wedding party? I don't know. I remember it. I don't know why it was so bad.
I don't know if there was any connection. I feel like somebody emailed someone in the low budgets and said, "Can you play the wedding march while we get married?" And then I guess do a set for the reception. We didn't do anything. We didn't play anything. We hung out for a little while.
I thought
we drank a little bit of their alcohol, and then we left. It was awful. It was the weirdest feeling.
It sounds terrible. I gotta say, it really does sound bad. I shouldn't even be laughing at it.
I shouldn't be laughing at it. I contributed to the
oh my
God. So yeah, Joe, if you have any other tidbits about that.
I honestly thought we played at the reception, so I'm confused.
Was it outside? I remember we were
outside. Yes.
See, this is where, yeah.
But whatever.
Well, it was still bad, right?
I've been to worse parties.
Well, we'll get to you, but
maybe not. That's going to come to a vote. He goes last.
Yes, we'll never get to me.
Yeah, we'll never get to jail.
I had trouble answering my own question because I was telling you guys last night, I don't really like parties. I don't really. So but then they're also like, if they have everything that a party needs, then it's a good party. But I'm looking for like when crazy shit happened, or like somebody like fell out of a window, or like you guys probably have some bad party stories, I'm sure.
It's what you determine what constitutes a bad party, because I was going to say, what constitutes a bad party? The people, the conversation, the food, the drinks, the entertainment. I mean,
the way you feel.
See, I went through all phases of like when I was a kid going to parties, or like when I was a teenager not getting invited to parties, or being an adult with a kid that goes to like another kid's party, like, and all of them, like, they're okay parties. I don't really care. But
yeah, your parties are like the stages of grief: denial, bargaining, acceptance. I'm just saying.
Yeah, sounds about right. So, yeah, I guess, I don't know, because I enjoy things like bar mitzvahs and weddings. And I used to like it when they had open bars, because, you could just drink and then you don't ever see a lot of these people again. But
what's the line from Clerks? I hate people, but I love gatherings.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been to some wild parties, but I wouldn't say they were bad. I got to be honest, like the song Bad Party kind of like was an impetus with this, because I figured you guys had some kind of experience with a bad party enough to write a song about it.
Now, that's actually a cover of a Talk Talk song.
Talk Talk by Talk Talk.
Bad Party by Talk Talk. Talk Talk.
What are you talking about?
Noah thought that was a Duran Duran song? It's just digressing there a little bit.
All right, so I just really wanted to ask the question because I want to know about your guys' bad parties.
Well, I have such impeccable taste that I've never been to a bad party.
Wow.
Yeah, no, really, I struggle with this question too, Dan. It's like I don't go to parties. If I go to a party, it's going to be a good party because I'm so entertaining and fabulous. I only go to good parties. I know the best people, and the best people throw the best parties, and I'm a great guest. So if you invite me to your next party, if I show up, it'll be a great party.
$1,000 game.
People say, "Where's Dean?" And I'm like, "He's mingling." And they're like, "Mingling." I'm like, "That means he's peeing in the cat litter."
That's right. I mean, as you mentioned, we've all certainly been to wild parties, and we're not going to talk about those right now. But I don't know if I've ever been to a bad party, and if a party is bad, I'll just leave. Also, I've taken in recent years to, what do they call it, the Irish goodbye.
Oh yeah.
I just
I'm
kind
like
of
the king of that.
like go around and say, "Well, it's great to see you. Bye, see it." And I'm just like,
There are people all over still looking for me.
yeah, I
Sure.
just take off. I don't stick around. That's my answer. I really rack my brain. It's like I've been to some great weddings. I've been to some great bar mitzvahs. I've been to plenty of kids' parties. They're whatever. They're fine. They're not for me, but I'm there as a responsible parent. So usually not drinking, but anyway.
I guess I've suffered so that you guys could have a good time, because
Yeah.
I go to a lot of parties and I can really think of three. I was going to talk about one, but I'm going to talk about a different one now. When I was in college, my freshman year, I was at a house party and it was pretty good. It was, lots of booze flowing, and there's beautiful young lady talking to me, and we're hitting it off. I mean, things are going really, really good. I mean, she is stunning. And, everything's, and plus I'm a freshman, and most women didn't talk to freshmen, and so I'm like talking to her, and it's going great, and we're really getting along. And I'm thinking, this is too good to be true. And it was. So what happens is a friend of mine who lived off campus comes up and she says, "Hey, Rodney, a bunch of us are going back to my house to have beers and stuff. You want to come along?" And before I can ask, she says, "And you can bring your friend along." So as you can see, my friends were helping. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be the best night of my life. Go over there with her. We're all sitting around in a circle. Everybody's drinking. And she says, I'll do it. I'll give it a little idea of how it looks. She goes, "You know what? I'm having such a good time with you people. I've only known all of you for a few minutes, but I feel like we're all friends." And everybody's like, yes, we're all friends. And I'm thinking, and you and I are going to be special friends. And then, so she goes, "Hey, let me tell you about another good friend of mine. His name's Jesus Christ." I can see it. I'm not doing it justice. Let me explain what it was like to me, because I could see it happening in slow motion, like bullets in like a Keanu Reeves film. It's like, she's like, "A good friend of mine, his name is Jesus Christ." And I'm like jumping forward in my mind to push it back into her mouth in slow motion, like, "No!" So what happens is, I'm just sitting there thinking, great, now I've been cock blocked by a fictional character. Great. Now, some of you people are going, wait a minute, there was a historic Jesus. And I'm saying right now, there was also a historic Dracula, but he couldn't turn into a bat. And again, that guy in the comments section will probably be like, "Well, you weren't there when Dracula was alive, so you don't know that he couldn't turn into a bat. You can't know anything." Hey, dude, I wasn't there when your parents met, but I know it was at a family reunion. So, where was I? Yeah, I remember now.
Jesus turned into Dracula.
Yeah, well, that's another theory I have. Jesus, you have to invite Jesus into your home. I'm willing to bet the graphics for this one are going to be good. So where was I? Oh yeah. So so now I'm going to guess, because these are my friends, like 3 or 4 out of 10 people there are Jewish. And one of them, the young lady who invited us all back to her place, was Jewish. And she goes, "Yeah, that's nice, but I want you to know some of us are Jewish." At which point the girl goes, "Oh, that's okay. My friend Jesus is also Jewish." I'm like, all right, sweetie, just pour some more gas on that fire. So then, my friend, not being subtle about it, I would have loved to have had like a circular camera and just done like all the people's jaws hanging open and like not looking horrified. So my friend whose house it was, and just tried to talk to the young lady, says, Rodney, I need to see you in the kitchen. So I know this isn't going to be good. So I go to the kitchen and she looks at me and she says, you brought her here. You got to get rid of her. So I had to take her, go, okay, we have to leave now. My friends are a little upset with you. I'm not that pleased myself, and walk her all the way back to her dorm room. And it was the longest walk of my life. It was probably a 20-minute walk, but it seemed like it lasted forever. So people, just lean in. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. If this happens to you, and it does happen occasionally, I'm not the only person. I've told the story before, and if I tell it to a room of 50 people, 2 or 3, and they might even be Jewish, we'll point and go, hey, that happened to me. So if somebody says to you, I'd also like to tell you, I have a good friend and his name is Jesus Christ, go, kinky. Just a little bit of advice. The worst is, like, sometimes a girl would say, like, oh, my boyfriend, and like your hopes are up. So you go, my boyfriend, and your hopes fall down. And then she goes, oh, I mean my friend, and your hopes go way back up. But then she goes, when I say my friend, I mean Jesus Christ. There's your hopes are never going to dig themselves out of that hole. So without a doubt, if you include like that happening, the walk home, the fact that my it's hard to make friends, in your freshman year in college. Everybody was mad at me. Probably for like 2 or 3 months. Like, how did that? And some of them were forgiving. They were like, yeah, she was very, very attractive. We can see how you fell for it. But just, next time, screen the people that you bring over. And that's why I only dated witches for years afterwards.
Oh.
And married one.
Wow. Okay. Well, for my bad party, I'm going to go to Pueblo, Colorado. And also, like Dan's, involves the low budgets. This
Although I
was
wasn't there. For
the 2007 fall tour. No, somehow, Dan, you avoided this whole tour, I guess, by saying you just said no to the tour. I didn't think of that.
That was the one I ended up doing
at the time.
I ended up doing the second half of it because I had familial obligations.
Oh, so do you even know this story I'm going to tell? Probably not.
No, I've never heard it.
The Fallout. Okay, so low budgets are booked to play in Pueblo, Colorado at a place called the Fallout Shelter. And I'm pretty sure we knew ahead of time this is a punk rock house. It's just called the Fallout Shelter. I mean, a house where punks live and put on shows. And it's pretty nice. They have it's like a den from the 1970s. It's never been updated. It's where they have the show space. It's wood paneling all over the place, like a fake fireplace, a mantle, all that stuff. So we play. They say you're gonna have the show, and then they're gonna have a little after party, which I didn't know about ahead of time. But there's an after party. We play the show. It's pretty fun. A lot of people leave except for the people that are invited to stay after and jam at relatively low volume because of the neighbors. You have to turn things down. So we play our show, and then afterwards, I found out that there's some Dead Milkmen fans living at that house. So I was goaded into playing some Milkmen songs during the jam. And then they say, do you want any acid? We've got a bunch of acid. And I decline. I have to work at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, even though we're on tour. Although I had a job that was at the time on the virtual, it was on the internet. And although I did try to get off for this tour for at least part of it, I could never, despite having a lot of time accumulated for vacation, I wouldn't be able to take more than one day in a row. So I had to work the next day, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, which is 8 o'clock in Philadelphia time, but this is Colorado. So I say no, and they let me have a bedroom upstairs all to myself, and that's fantastic. And there's Wi-Fi, which is great for my job too. So I'm thinking, great, they're going to have I'll get to bed relatively early, like what is it, midnight now? Get some sleep. And jamming continues. It gets louder and louder. Long story short, I don't get any sleep. After the jamming stops, but I'm thinking, great, this is it. They're going to be a little quieter. And then the music starts up on it's techno, like techno dance music. So it's like they're having a rave or something. And literally it sounds
familiar
like
obligations,
like dancing on the ceiling practically. And I'm right above it. So I'm just hearing poof, poof. It's like, this is with my head on the pillow. No. So to me, it was a bad party because although I was invited, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't have participated anyway, because we had to be in Lubbock, Texas the next day for a show, which is like a 7-hour drive from Colorado. And I know my previous experience with acid LSD is that you never can tell how long it's going to last. It could still be lasting the next day.
Could still be lasting right now.
It could be. Maybe it did. I've taken at least half dozen times. Sometimes it doesn't work at all, and sometimes it lasts 2 days. Sometimes it lasts 6 hours or 7 hours. Anyway, the next day, I get maybe 2 hours of sleep when the alarm goes off, and I'm like, okay, now I have to do most of the work is done through chat, and I have Skype meetings also scheduled. So I found out that nobody went to sleep. They're still up. And they claim to all be still tripping. And not only that, Rob, who was our roadie, who I expected would at least stay sober because somebody has to drive us to Lubbock, was tripping balls. And he said, sorry, I can't drive. And everyone's looking at me and I was like, no way, I'm not driving. I have to work. I can't be on my laptop. I have a Skype meeting at like 10:30. I'm not driving.
Oh.
And it's not Skype video, it's just audio, but I had clients to deal with too, and other people. So I refused to drive, and we were either going to miss our show in Lubbock and stay till everybody got sober, or what happened was Steve, somehow it was determined he was the most capable, still tripping now, would drive us, at least get us started. And honestly, he was really good at driving on acid. The roads are really straight out there. And Steve's not normally the greatest driver, I must say. I hope he's not watching, but he was actually really, really good. And I wasn't too worried. And we got to Lubbock.
Is everybody sober by the time the Lubbock show rolled around?
Everyone was sober, but I would say, if I remember, the Lubbock show was a little more subdued than
I'm sure they got unsober
out
after that, though.
What's that?
I'm sure everybody got unsober after that before the show.
Yeah, everybody did. I tended not to, because I was actually on my way to being all the time sober, but I made a deal that I wouldn't drink at low budget shows ever because of something that happened earlier in the year.
It reminds me of the Ollie G bit where he says, my mate Dave took 14 hits of ecstasy. And the next day, everybody on the Staines to Egerton bus said he never drove it better in his life.
Yeah, maybe that's the drug that Steve needed to focus. I don't know. But I thought that was the most terrible night and terrible. I thought it was a terrible party because from my perspective, it didn't really involve me. But the noise did. I was even hoping that the police were going to come, but they never showed up.
Oh, they would charge a fortune to play, and Sting is a horrible person to work with.
To shut the party down.
Pueblo, Colorado, they probably would have just come in and handed pamphlets out to everybody.
You didn't sleep that whole time. That could have been like the best party if you had actually joined it.
Well, I should have joined it, probably, but no, I wouldn't have taken acid and had to work at 6 a.m. I just wouldn't have done that.
Young people learn from our mistakes. Don't be us. Right?
Yes.
I mean, there's some doll bands out there. Don't be them either, but maybe find a happy medium is what I'm saying.
Should we do recommendations?
Why the hell not?
I would recommend experimenting with long drives on psychedelics. See if you're any good at it.
No, I would not recommend that.
I don't actually support what I just said, just because we're on video and this is being recorded.
How about having familiar obligations while you're on drugs? Because that's my new term for sex now, familiar obligations. I wanted to have familiar obligations with that girl at that party. But Jesus stepped in.
Nowhere in the biblical sense.
Yeah.
As that lady knew Jesus, I guess. In the Bible. Yeah, I would just recommend, talk to your doctor before you do that. Driving on psychedelic. All right, next.
I would like to recommend a music video by Noah Richardson for his song called Dead to Me. I'm a little bit biased in liking this video because it was co-directed by my son, Victor. So we'll provide the link to you. Victor and his production partner, Matt, worked on this video. They've been doing videos for over a year now. They've got, I don't know, 15 or 20 videos under the belt, and this is their latest, and it's really good. So check it out. We'll provide the link. It's on YouTube.
My son Walter trained a monkey to be sarcastic. Anyway, all right, here we go. A recent article in the New York Times of London said that people who get their news from entertainers should be sealed in pits of their own filth. That makes sense. Okay, now it's time for music that you won't see on the radio or hear on TV. This week's artist is called Her Noise is Violence. And much like last week's artist, which was the number H, this week's artist, again, Her Noise is Violence, hail from a small city in Pennsylvania called Philadelphia. Hey, that sounds like where I live. So I would describe Her Noise as Violence as harsh ambient. It's ambient music, but it gets your attention. It's kind of like what Dean does. Dean does like ambient music, but if I put it on, I find myself like thinking it's catchy.
I don't get anybody's attention with it.
Yeah, well, I like it. I do. And I like this. I bet you there's some sort of, they're two different things, but there's some sort of weird commonality. But I really do recommend Her Noise is Violence. When I'm doing stuff around the house, I like to put it on. I'll often get distracted, get back to what I'm doing, but I really, really like it. Just the other day, Her Noise is Violence dropped a new single. It is called Lucid Dreaming, but I suggest if you're going to listen to Her Noise is Violence, you start with the Out of Time EP. Now there's a tie-in with the Dead Milkmen here. This was issued by Brutal Residents, and Brutal Residents is the website from which we get the famous quote, "Who or what the fuck is a Rodney Anonymous?" which I used to put on my business cards for the longest time. So yeah, I really do recommend that you check out Her Noise is Violence. I think you're going to like it. In fact, I bought the album. I might put it up on out in the cloud for all of us to enjoy, and then you could send Her Noise is Violence some money. So I was going to also recommend, I'm still recommending it, Nope, the new Jordan Peele film. I was going to go into a long thing about it, but half in the bag, where's my diaper, just did the thing on it last night, and they covered a lot of the stuff I was going to talk about, including reading one of the 1-star reviews. So yeah, it's a really good episode. We'll put a link, and you're going to want to see that. So instead, now I'm also going to recommend Orphan First Kill. This is some of the most fun you can have with a movie. It is so much fun, and it's good for me because my cousin Radu Anonymous over in Estonia actually runs a no-kill orphanage. It's like a no-kill shelter, except they don't hardly kill none of the orphans. But yeah, Orphan First Kill is so, like, Ben and I are just going, oh my God, this is freaking nuts. I love this. So yeah, I'm going to recommend. So this week's recommendation from me are Her Noise is Violence, Nope, and Orphan First Kill. All right, thank you.
I want to recommend a movie called Gigi Nate. It's not about Gigi Allen. It's based on a true story about a guy named Nate Gibson who contracts a virus in his teenage years and becomes a quadriplegic because of it. And eventually
uplifting story.
It's a called a family drama, and it is kind of uplifting in a way. It's almost a tearjerker. But he eventually gets a service animal, which is a capuchin monkey, a primate. And that's where the drama begins, him having a monkey for a service animal in the state of Tennessee.
Is it like that movie Monkey Shines? Do you ever see that one? The horror movie where the guy it's like a Wes Craven film.
It's not a horror movie, but it's sort of like a light family.
Like Dunstan checks in.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, if that monkey was trained by my son Walter, it's a goddamn horror movie. That kid don't know what he's doing.
The monkey is actually the monkey is Gigi and practically the star of the show. And I read that there's some CGI computer graphic effects to enhance Gigi's performance, but it's pretty good.
This is based on a true story?
It's based on a true story, embellished by Hollywood writers, I guess. It has this sort of tone of a Hallmark Channel movie.
Yeah,
there's a monkey in Note too, but that's not a Hallmark movie.
So yeah, I recommend it. It's
after 20 or 30 hits of Blue Sunshine, Joe needs to watch some Hallmark movies to bring himself down a little bit.
Gigi and Nate in theaters now.
I'm not sure I could drive to Lubbock, Texas sober.
From here?
I don't even want to go to Lubbock, Texas.
Convince me to drive to Lubbock, Texas in any state.
Isn't that where Buddy Holly was from?
Yeah, but Buddy Holly was actually a shaved monkey with glasses stuck on him. Wasn't even a human being.
Don't say that.
Wasn't even a human being.
He
was, yeah. He was like, you know what? We're going to tell the SPCA what's going on here. And he's like, that'll be the day.